The psoas muscle can be a major player in our low back pain. It's a muscle that runs from the low back to the top of the inner thigh. It's the only muscle that connects the torso to the legs. And sometimes it's also called our fight or flight muscle. This muscle can really tense up and stay in a contracted and pulled position, which then pulls on that lower back and doesn't allow the lower back to feel its fluidity and its mobility. This exercise hopefully is going to help contract that psoas a little bit more so that the muscles around the lower back can balance out and we can have a little more freedom in our lower back and less pain. This one is done on our backs. So coming down to the floor, we're going to do both sides, but the first thing we're going to start with is one knee over your hip and your lower leg supported. If for some reason this is not a helpful position because it causes more back pain, then maybe rest your lower leg on a chair or an ottoman to do this exercise. The first thing we're going to do is bring a little bit of tension or compression to that knee as our knee is pushing or pulling towards our head. We're going to do this for about 10 seconds or so. And I don't want you to use all the force that you have in those hip flexor muscles, just the tiniest little bit of force. And the reason for that is so that our brain can track those micro movements happening and the nervous system can pick up on that and create a change. So I'm going to use one hand to keep my knee exactly where it is and then gently push that knee towards my head for about 10 seconds, the littlest amount of force. And then after about 10 seconds, I'm going to follow through with that knee coming in the direction it was pushing and simply let the muscles around my hip relax and then bring that leg back down to the floor. Now we're going to repeat the same thing 2 more times, each time moving just a little bit closer towards your head. So I started at that 90-degree angle, so I'm going to start now a little bit closer in. Same exercise, bringing the knee towards the hand, gently pulling that knee towards your head, counting to about 8 or 10 or so, and then gently releasing that thigh towards your chest and allowing the leg then to simply rest for a few seconds. Let that integrate. And then the last time, again, maybe a little bit closer to start with. Same thing, little tiny push. Maybe during this push you take a deep breath, feel your belly soft. And gently release the knee back in. Sometimes for me it feels nice to let that leg simply soften in the hip joint a minute. And then let the leg come back down. Now you can integrate by releasing the leg all the way to the floor and gently moving it side to side, letting that leg, that thigh bone, feel like it can move inside that hip joint. And then we would repeat the same thing on the other side. Same action, follow through, and then 2 inches in, 2 inches in, repeat that same process. And again, give yourself time to integrate. Maybe both knees want to do a little side-to-side movement. And what that exercise hopefully will do is to help bring about a little bit more balance between not only releasing the psoas, one of those big hip flexors in front, but also helping to activate some of the smaller muscles in your back called the multifidus. Hopefully that helps. Enjoy.